Good morning, everyone. Today's topic is legal basis of Reserve Officers Training Corps, or as we call ROTC. First, I will introduce myself. I am Probationary Second Lieutenant Kathleen May Corporal Baksain, Philippine Army Reserve. I live in San Isidro, Baao, Camarines Sur. On elementary level, I graduated at Pili Central School. On secondary level, I graduated at Computer Science High School of Bicolanja. And on tertiary level, I graduated at Naga College Foundation with a course of Bachelor of Science in Criminology. I am a licensed criminologist, and I am a graduate of ROTC Summer Camp Training, RSCT, Advanced ROTC Academic Phase Training, ARAP, Warfighting, Air-to-Ground Operation Seminar, Explosive Ordnance Reconnaissance Agent Training, Disaster Response and Rescue Operation Training, Peketi Tertiary Probationary Officer Training Course, Class 54. First, why do we need to study the legal basis of the ROTC? We need to study for us to know the basis or the core of the ROTC. Why is it created and why is it important? The first law that supports or create the ROTC is the Commonwealth Act Number 1, Section 1. This act shall be known as the National Defense Act. Article 1, National Defense Policy. Section 2, the National Defense Policy of the Philippines shall be as follows. A. Paragraph A, the preservation of the state is the obligation of every citizen. The security of the Philippines and the freedom, independence, and perpetual neutrality of the Philippine Republic shall be guaranteed by the employment of all citizens without distinction of age or sex and all resources. So, meaning ng Commonwealth Act Number 1, sinasabi dito na siya ay tinatawag na National Defense Act of 1935. So, ang batas na ito ay na-create noong 1935 sa panahon ng mga Amerikano. Sinasabi dito na ang lahat ng tao, lahat ng citizen sa Pilipinas ay may obligasyon o responsibilidad na i-preserve ang ating state, ang ating bansa. The security of the Philippines, ang seguridad ng Pilipinas at ang ating kalayaan ay responsibilidad ng isang citizen, ng isang tao, ng isang Pilipino, anuman ang kanyang age or edad, anuman ang kanyang kasarian. 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Article 2, Section 4. Article 2, Declaration of the Principles and State Policies, Section 4. The prime duty of the government is to serve and protect the people. The government may call upon the people to defend the state and, in the fulfillment thereof, all citizens may be required, under conditions provided by law, to render personal, military, or civil service. So the second law that supports or creates the ROTC is the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines, Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines. Sinasabi naman dito sa batas na ito sa Section 4 na ang gobyerno ay may prime duty na magsilbi at protektahan ang mga Pilipino. Ang gobyerno ay pwedeng tumawag or to call upon the people to defend, protektahan ang ating bansang Pilipinas, provided na ito ay naayon sa batas. Kung ano man ang service na pagpapatawag ng gobyerno, ito ay maaaring personal, military, or civil. The third basis of the ROTC is the Republic Act Number 7077, an act providing for the development, administration, organization, training, maintenance, and utilization of the citizen armed forces of the Philippines and for the other purposes. Article 1, Title, Section 1, Title. This act shall be known as the Citizens Armed Force of the Armed Forces of the Philippines Reservist Act. So, ang Republic Act 7077 ay ang tinatawag nating Armed Forces of the Philippines Reservist Act. Ito ay naging responsable, itong batas ito ay naging responsable kung bakit nagkaroon ng mga reservist ngayon. Sinasabi sa Article 3, Mission and Organization of the Citizen Armed Force. Section 7, Mission. The mission of the Citizen Armed Force, alternately referred to as Reserve Force, is to provide the base for the expansion of the armed forces of the Philippines in the event of war, invasion, or rebellion, to assist in relief and rescue during disasters or calamities, to assist in socio-economic development, and to assist in the operation and maintenance of essential government or private utilities in the furtherance of other overall mission. So, meaning, ang misyon ng batas na ito ay makakreate ng isang reserve force na kung saan maaaring tawagin ng Armed Forces of the Philippines kapag nagkagera, nagka-invasion, rebellion. Kung kailangan na, gaya ngayong COVID days, nagkaroon ng mga pagpapatawag sa mga reservists na mag-duty at magsama sa checkpoint. Minsan kapag may mga bagyo at sobrang lalang mga disaster sa Pilipinas, pinapatawag ang mga reserve force para magsilbi, magbigay ng relief and rescue operations during disaster and calamities. Section 8, Organization. The reserve force shall be organized into 5 components, namely, first, the Army Reserve Component. Second, the Air Force Reserve Component. Third is the Navy Reserve Component. Fourth is the AFP-wide Technical Reserve Component. And fifth is the Affiliated Reserves. So, sabi dito sa organization ng AFP Reserve Act, Reservist Act, or the Republic Act 7077, mayroong 5 components ang batas na ito. Meron tayong Army Reserve, Air Force Reserve, Navy Reserve, AFP-wide Technical Reserve, and Affiliated. Kasi ngayon, ang eskwela natin ay nakasama sa Army Reserve Component. Article 4, Definition of Citizen Soldiers. Section 11, Citizen Soldiers. The citizen soldiers, alternately referred to as reservists, who compose the reserve force are those reservists of the Armed Forces of the Philippines who are incorporated into the reserve force as follows. Number 1, graduates of the Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC, basic and advanced courses, and who were issued orders as enlisted reservists or reserve officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Sinasabi sa Article 4 na ang citizen soldiers ay tinatawag ding reservists or reserve force na kung saan meron tayong may mga iba't ibang pinanggagalingan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng reserve force, kung paano sila nakakasama sa reserve force. Ang unang qualifications, bakit ka na-incorporate sa reserve force ay graduate ka ng ROTC. Ikaw man ay graduate ng basic ROTC or ikaw man ay graduate ng advanced ROTC. So kayo, kung makakagraduate kayo ngayong SEM at sa sunod na SEM, MS2, kayo na ay may issuehan, mabibigyan ng reserve numbers, serial numbers. So kayo ay automatic na makakasama sa reserve force ng ating bansa, Army Reserve Component. Second is graduates of authorized basic military training instructions who, as result thereof, were issued orders as enlisted reservists or reserve officers. Third is the ex-servicemen and retired officers of the AFP and other armed forces that have diplomatic relations with the Philippines who were honorably discharged or retired from the service and who are Filipino citizens upon their application. And the fourth is recognized World War II guerrillas who were honorably discharged from the service. So, nabanggit dito yung mga sources pa kung paano nagiging reserve force. Is kapag ikaw raw ay graduate ng isang authorized basic military training, ikaw ay automatic na magiging parte ng reserve force. Kapag ikaw ay retired officer or enlisted ng AFP, ikaw ay pwedeng maging reserve force, makasama sa isang reserve force. At kapag ikaw ay World War II guerrillas na nabigyan ng honorable discharge order, ikaw din ay pwedeng maging kasama sa reserve force. Kalima, fifth, commissioned and non-commissioned officers under the affiliated reserve category and graduates of the National Defense College of the Philippines, NDCP. And 6, commissioned, non-commissioned officers and privates under the existing laws, including those procured under Project 36 to 70 and included in the present AFP roster before the enactment of this Act, and those to be commissioned or enlisted after enactment of this Act. So, ibig sabihin, sa ikalima at sa ika-anim na ang commissioned and non-commissioned officers ng mga affiliated reserves na kanina nabanggit na pati din siya ng component ng mga reserves, and commissioned and non-commissioned officers and privates under the existing laws, including those procured under 36 to 70. Ibig sabihin nito is yung mga dati pa noon na bago pa may anak ang batas na ito na mga reserve force na, so i-qualify din siya bilang reserve force. Article 7, Citizen Military Training. Section 38, Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC. Military training for students enrolled in colleges, universities, and similar institutions of learning is mandatory pursuant to the provisions of the National Defense Act of 1987 Constitution. So, sabi sa Article 7 of Republic Act 1777 na ang ROTC ay mandatory sa lahat ng kolehiyo, universidad, at iba pang institutions, educational institution. Section 39, Establishments of ROTC units in schools. At such colleges, universities, and similar institutions of learning that request for the conduct of military training in their institutions, there shall be established and maintained Reserve Officers Training Corps units as the Secretary of National Defense may approve, which shall conduct military training for the students of such institutions and for the purpose of producing enlisted and officer reservists, provided that such course of instruction shall not exceed to 2 academic years in the case of enlisted reservists and 4 academic years in the case of officer reservists, which shall include as necessary summer or probationary training of not more than 60 consecutive days. So meaning ng Section 39, ng pag-establish ng ROTC units ay hindi lang kung sino-sino ang a-approve. Ito dapat ay under the guidance and the approval of the Secretary of National Defense. Sinasabi sa Republic Act 1777 na kailangan ang ROTC para makagraduate ka dyan, meron 2 academic years. Ibig sabihin nun, meron kang 4 na semester para makagraduate ka ng ROTC. Tapos, sinasabi pa dito na kung ikaw ay gagraduate or kung ikaw ay gustong maging officer ng reserve force na gagamitin mo ang ROTC, kailangan mo makakonsume ng 4 academic years, 4 na taon, o ibig sabihin 8 semester. Tapos, kailangan mo pang mag-undergo sa summer or probationary training. Section 40, Acceptance for Advanced ROTC. Students who volunteer for advanced ROTC shall be screened by an ROTC acceptance board, which is hereby created for the purpose, composed of the commandant of the ROTC unit, a representative of the school nominated by the school authorities, and a military physician. The student volunteer shall be physically examined for the fitness for training and shall further be made to executive in writing a testament that he volunteered for training of his own volition. Where the student is below 18 years of age, he shall be required to obtain his parents' or guardian's consent. Sinasabi sa Section 40 ng batas na ito na ang students ay voluntaryong gustong pumasok ng advanced ROTC officer, kailangan siyang ma-screen ng commandant ng authorities from schools and a military physician. Kung siya ay hindi pa tama sa edad or hindi pa 18 years old pataas, kailangan nang magbigay ng parents or guardians consent. Naiintindihan ba? Kung may mga katanungan kayo, maaari kayong mag-chat sa inyong mga assigned officers or maaari kayong mag-chat dito sa Zoom or mag-comment kayo sa live. Sasagutin ko yan mamaya pagkatapos ng ating mga lectures. Malapit na itong matapos. Article 8, Incorporation into the Reserve Force. Section 46, Disposition of Graduates of Advanced ROTC. those who successfully completed the advanced ROTC course shall be recommended for commission in the reserve as second lieutenants and assigned to the reserve units and mobilization centers in their provinces. Those with manifest potential may be commissioned in the regular force as second lieutenants, subject to criteria for regular officers of this rank for that particular service. Meaning, sabi sa section 14, na ang graduates ng advanced ROTC ay magiging reserve as second lieutenant sa kanya-kanyang reserve units and mobilization centers. So kung ikaw ang gagraduate sa eskwelahan na ito, ikaw ay magiging, kung ikaw ay makakapasa sa mga qualifications, ikaw ay magiging second lieutenant ng 502 Ready Reserve Infantry Battalion. Dito po yan sa Camarines Sur. Article 13, Penalties. Section 68, Penalties. Failure of reservists to respond to the call to compulsory training or service shall be punishable in accordance with the Articles of War, and those convicted by a court-martial shall be liable for imprisonment of not less than 2 months to not more than 12 months. Citizens who fail to register for compulsory military training or after having to undergo such training and have been notified thereof fail to report for training shall, upon conviction by the civil court, be punishable and liable for imprisonment of not less than 1 month to not more than 3 months. So meaning, kapag ikaw ay pinatawag ng reserve force ng kapag ikaw ay pinatawag ng mobilization unit nyo, kunyari, dito ka nakagraduate, pinatawag ka ng 502nd Ready Reserve Infantry Battalion at ikaw ay hindi nakapunta at hindi ikaw nakarating, di ka naka-attend, di ka naka-report, ikaw ay maaaring makulong ng di bababa sa 2 buwan at hindi tataas sa 12 buwang pagkakakulong. Tapos pwede ka pang, pag ikaw ay nakatulan ng convicted sa civil court, maaari kang makulong ng 1 buwan pero hindi tataas ng 3 buwang pagkakakulong. So, ibig sabihin, tayo ay covered ng batas. Pag tayo ay pinatawag ng ating mobilization center, tayo ay obligado, required na pumunta sa kanilang station. Republic Act numbers 9163. Ito po ang huling batas na aking itatakil ngayon. Ang Republic Act 9163 is an act establishing the National Service Training Program, NSTP, for tertiary level students, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7077 and Presidential Decree number 1706 and for other purposes. Section 1, short title. This act shall be known as the National Service Training Program, NSTP Act of 2001. So, when you say Republic Act 9163, ito po ay tinatawag na NSTP Act of 2001. Ito po ay nag-amend ng Republic Act 7077 or the AFP Reservist Act. Yun po yung tinapik ko kaninang batas, ngayon po inamend or binago ng may mga binagong context yung Republic Act 9163 sa Republic Act 7077. Malalaman nyo po ito sa mga susunod na slides. Okay, Section 2, Declaration of Policy. It is hereby affirmed the prime duty of the government to serve is to serve and protect its citizens. In turn, it shall be the responsibility of all citizens to defend the security of the state, and in fulfillment thereof, the government may require each citizen to render personal, military, or civil service. Recognizing the youth's vital role in nation building, the state shall promote civic consciousness among the youth and shall develop their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being. It shall inculcate in the youth patriotism, nationalism, and advance their involvement in public and civic affairs. Meaning, sinasabi sa Republic Act 9163 or the NSTP Act of 2000, kailangan protektahan natin ang bansa dahil ang prime government ng bansa ay protektahan na tayo. So tayo din naman ang magde-defend sa security ng bansa. Definitions of terms, Section 3. For the purpose of this act, the following are hereby defined as follows. Paragraph A. National Service Training Program, NSTP, is a program aimed at enhancing civic consciousness and defense preparedness in youth by developing the ethics of service and patriotism while undergoing training and any of its three program components. Its various components are specifically designed to enhance the youth's active contribution to the general welfare. So sinasabi dito na ang NSTP ay may tatlong components na. Sinasabi na ang NSTP ay isang programa kung saan ito ay may aim or may goal na ma-enhance ang civic consciousness and defense preparedness ng kabataan. Sinasabi sa paragraph B, Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC, is a program institutionalized under Sections 38 and 39 of Republic Act 7077 designed to provide military training to tertiary level students in order to motivate, train, organize, and mobilize them for national defense preparedness. Paragraph C, Literacy Training Service, is a program designed to train students to become teachers of literacy and numeracy skills to school children, out-of-school youth, and other segments of society in need of their service. So, meaning, sa paragraph P, nabanggit na naman ng ROTC na ang ROTC daw ay na-create sa Republic Act 7077 under Section 38 and 39 na sinasabi na ang military training is sa tertiary level para ma-motivate, ma-train, at ma-organize and ma-mobilize sila para sa national defense preparedness. So, pag nagkagera, ang gagamitin is nasa ROTC component. Sa literacy training service naman, ito daw ay programa na kung saan nakadesenyo ito para i-train ang mga students na maging teachers ng literacy and numeracy skills para sa mga out-of-school youths at sa mga hindi kayang ma-afford ang pag-aaral on public and private schools. Paragraph D, Civic Welfare Training Service, refers to programs and activities contributory to general welfare and the betterment of life for the members of the community or the enhancement of its facilities, especially those devoted to improving health, education, environment, entrepreneurship, safety, recreation, and morals of the citizenry. So sabi ang Civic Welfare Training Service, CWTS as we call, is ang programa o aktibidad na kung saan ito ay para sa general welfare, pangkalahatan, pang betterment or betterment means improvement of life. Pag unlad ng ating kabuhayan for the members of the community, para sa membro ng mga komunidad, para sa citizens. Section 4, Establishments of the National Service Training Program. There is hereby established a National Service Training Program, NSTP, which shall form part of curricula of all baccalaureate degree courses and at least 2-year technical vocational courses and is a requisite for graduation, consisting of the following service components. First is a Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC, which is hereby made optional and voluntary upon the effectivity of this act. Literacy Training Service and the Civil Welfare Training Service. So, ibig sabihin, under the Section 4, na ang NSTP or National Service Training Program ay pang 2 taon na lamang. Ay pwedeng, hindi na siya dati noon, pag basic ka, kailangan mo ng 2 taon. Ngayon, 1 taon na lang, 2 semester na lang. Tapos pag mag-a-advance ka is nasa 3 taon na lang, 6 na semesters na lang. Noon, sabi doon sa Republic Act 7077, ito ay mandatory. Ngayon po sa Republic Act 9163 or the NSTP Act, ito po ay naging optional at voluntary na. Kasi nagkaroon na po ng LTS at CWTS. Section 6, Duration and Equivalent Course Unit. Each of the aforementioned NSTP program components shall be undertaken for an academic period of 2 semesters. In lieu of the 2-semester program for any components of the NSTP, a 1-summer program may be designed, formulated, and adopted by the DND, SHED, and TESDA. So, meaning, ang duration nga ng ating NSTP program is 2 semesters na lang or 1 academic period. Section 14, suspension of ROTC requirement. The completion of ROTC training as requisite for graduation is hereby set aside for those students who, despite completing all academic units as the effectivity of this act, have not been allowed to graduate. So, ibig sabihin, under sa Section 14 ng batas na Republic Act 9163, na pwede ka na raw makagraduate ng college nang hindi nag-ROTC kasi required pa rin mag-NSTP. Kailangan may subject ka ng NSTP pero di na required na ROTC yun. And that's all for today. Thank you for listening. Yung lahat ng mga katanungan nyo, lahat ng mga comments nyo sa ating slides and topic ay pwede nyong i-comment dun sa ating Zoom or dun sa live at ako ay maaaring sumagot. Hintayin ko po kayo. Maraming salamat and thank you for listening.